नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् हरि ओम् कृष्णं वन्दे विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि. Can someone recollect anything that we saw last? From the link and we go ahead. Yes, please. Anybody? Yes.
Yeah, try from my
Yes.
side. So, we started with a topic where it was related to why sadhaks were not allowed to write extensively. So, we understood that there's no general rule as such. It's the mind that tries to search for a general rule.
Logic.
So that was one.
Yeah.
And then, aspiring for the right plane of inspiration to uh, come. This is another thing. So, what could be the possibility of a wrong plane? It's like aspirations for fame and all those things. So, that was another thing. And so, if someone lives in exclusion, it does not mean that they cannot write due to lack of experience. So, it's like people living in the Himalayas are living in seclusion. But if one is receptive, they should be able to write um, in any circumstance and provided they're open for aspiration. And then, we also saw a topic where inspiration for poetry had stopped for some time. So you cannot demand this inspiration, especially if it's being done for sadhana. And then, since Nirodbaran ji was not a born writer, it takes time for inspiration to manifest, is what and another thing we saw. And we saw another topic where a friend felt like ending his life, and so it's the talks of those topics are unnecessary, is what the response was, and grace is always there, so one has to hold on and remember. That
Yes.
is what we saw, and also we saw that don't try to discard the beautiful experiences by thinking they're just imagination, especially if they bring ananda. So that was another thing. And is Ananda a major experience was another question. So I think light, peace, Ananda are true is what we saw. And we also saw that sometimes it is okay to experience the vital attachments in the initial days of sadhana, as they can cause vital disturbances in the path
It is
of
okay or it
progression.
is not okay?
I've written it's okay in the initial
But
days. I'm not sure if
but
I
no, I don't
wrote it
think.
properly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But initial days, probably the attachment, it is difficult to overcome. But
Okay.
okay, in the sense, if we give a green signal, it will remain
Uh,
permanently an attachment. Yes, yes. So, but I think that was a wonderful summary. Any other points, Chitraji?
I think the last one
Yep.
of yeah, trick of the vital is something that I've written.
Hmm.
Um, we saw that we assume that the expression of the mother or something is changing, but
Yeah, he was
it's
assuming
nothing.
according. It was a trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. This is something. Okay, all right. Thank you, Chitraji. That is a beautiful summary. And just one point about the related to suicide. While it is not unnecessary talk, we can say, because sometimes sadhaks have to talk to it. They have to talk about it. If they feel it, they have to share it immediately with their guru. Hari Om, Sarojini ji. Namaste.
Hello, Hariom sir.
Hari Om ji. Yes, namaste. I'll just mute you. I'm hearing some background sound also. So yeah. So while we calling that talk unnecessary is not sometimes we brush it off. For us it is all right. But sometimes somebody wishes to, like Arjuna's case in the Gita, Arjuna confessed, and in that time it was necessary for him to talk about it. But in the particular context of Dr. Nirodbaran, where he was getting attached to the lower thoughts, getting attached to the lower thoughts is unnecessary. There is a mental trick which sometimes that is unnecessary. That is what the mother actually told, because it's dangerous to continuously play with those kind of thoughts until God tells me I am going to go lower and lower into consciousness, or I don't see light until this kind of what we can say nature is there is a mental lower nature which blocks us. We have seen in the Gita, Atmaiva Bandhuratmana, Atmaiva Ripuratmana. So Atman is the friend and Atman is the foe as well. So that is one thing which can be avoided, is what we saw. Another is experience the Ananda when it is there, isn't it? Don't try to quantify and logically reduce it. It can be. It is a trickle of the same Ananda. That was what was the message given. So I think with this, we are ready. We are ready to move into the next part of this journey. Just one moment. Please give me one moment. Hari Om. Namaste, Dr. Vaishali ji. We are just starting. Hari Om.
Namaste ji, Hari Om.
Namaste. Hari Om. So we start now with Nirodbaran's question again. He says, I would like to know why the resistance rushed up on the 15th August. You said it depends on one's condition. It is true that I indulged in food or in mental questionings, and these last few months were very lax. So on the darshan, 15th August, sudden resistance was felt, experienced by Nirodbaran himself. This is actually a very good sign of a sadhak who is conscious of the resistance within oneself as well, who is asking it, and Sri Aurobindo is being asked. And he's actually confessing only that it is he indulged in food and mental questionings, and this was the reason. So Sri Aurobindo replies, laxity and self-externalizing consciousness, more occupied with outer than with inner things. That is the exact diagnosis. So because of laziness and using the inner, like just externalizing consciousness, self-externalizing consciousness, occupied with outer things, meaning sometimes you have to go inwards, no? Instead of turning inwards, he has now been focusing too much on the outside. Nirodbaran continues, I have resolved to abstain from Sunday indulgences or make them as infrequent as possible. I have already resisted many hankerings for a cup of tea. Dr. Nirodbaran is not going to leave his cup of tea. It will keep coming. Sri Aurobindo replies, about food, tea, etc., the aim of yoga is to have no hankerings, no slavery, either to the stomach or the palate. How to get to that point is another matter. It depends often on the individual. With a thing like tea, the strongest and easiest way is to stop it. As to food, the best way usually is to take the food given you. Practice non-attachment and follow no fancies. That would mean giving up the Sunday indulgence. The rest must be done by an inner change of consciousness and not by external means. So in case of Nirodbaran, he has come for sadhana, he has decided. So somewhere the cravings for food were taking over. This is how Sri Aurobindo has said. First is trying to turn it off completely. Practice non-attachment to the food items. Give whatever is given. I think Isha Upanishad also talks about that only, isn't it? In the first verse, many times we have seen it. ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत्तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जिता मा क्रोधः कस्य स्विद्धनम्. Whatever comes naturally, enjoy it without trying to attach unnecessarily. Many times when anybody has heard of bhikshu, who is a bhikshu? Anyone? Are you aware of that?
I think I know. Maybe Bhikshu is maybe actually. I think from Buddhist point of view, it's a monk
Not
who.
just Buddhist, from Sanatan point of view also.
Yes. So Bhikshu is the person or sort of a brahmachari or anyone sannyasi who
Yeah.
devotes his or her life to the god,
Sadhana. Hmm.
but he cannot earn his or her own money, so they ask bhiksha. For
Om Bhavati
example,
Bhikshan Dehi, isn't it?
yes, that one.
So in the Bhiksha, can they say, I want ghee masala dosa? There's no
नहीं, जो
choice.
मिल जाए वही खाना होता है.
जो मिल जाए, isn't it? That is the bhava. And that is what Sri Aurobindo is asking our Nirodbaran to cultivate. Whatever is given to you. He's also, it is actually ashram very nicely taken care of. Everybody was given what is good, what food is required for progressing, for his food, for sustenance. A lot of people who have, anybody has tasted the food in the dining in ashram? Yes, Manisha ji wants to share something. How is it in terms of what is your experience, ji, since we're talking about food? Yes, ji.
I have been eating that food continuously for about a month, and I
Okay.
enjoyed every bit of it.
It is tasty also, isn't it? It's
Very
not like
tasty.
it's not bad for the palate, but it's good for the health. It's good for sadhana also because you are raising your consciousness. It's not lowering your consciousness. So food
Yes.
what we can say, we should not eat. We should what we can. Some people live to eat or eat to live, which is right, which is correct.
Live, eat to live.
Eat to live, not live to eat. No, because sadhana should not revolve around food only. But sometimes it happens. And how to overcome is one thing very nicely. Whatever comes to you, recognize it has come from the divine and go ahead. Let us continue.
Ashram food is very sattvic, I think. There is no
Yes.
means masala or this one. So once or
Yeah.
twice I have to say it is
You
quite
have eaten.
sattvic. Means it is parallel with their
Life, way of life, isn't it?
yeah, way of
Yeah. Ji. Yes, Dr. Vaishali ji. Absolutely. So, Nirodbaran continues. He says, after darshan, I have been trying every day not to go to D's, but somehow find myself there. Sri Aurobindo, if you get something by the darshan, it is better to go home and absorb it. If not, it does not matter. Only you have to take care not to absorb deleterious influences at the gathering. I mean, moods of doubt, depression, indifference to things spiritual, etc., etc. This is also very interesting. You have to gather your consciousness. When you go to a devasthana, when you go to a devalaya, when you go for a darshan, especially to some charged place, you have to be quiet. You have to be quiet and gather it. And what is after receiving the darshan, what should be done? Is it over after the darshan? Is everything over? No, it's just the
Have
beginning.
to sit and
We,
meditate for
yeah, we
few
sit
minutes.
and we sit and meditate and quietly, not
Then the
quickly come
vibration
back.
should not go as early as possible. It should be maintained.
Yeah. It is like, children playing, they gather all their marbles and suddenly it falls and again it scatters everywhere and they start crying. It is something like that. When we get an experience, we have to contain that experience. We have to experience that properly. We have to cherish it. So that is important. So Sri Aurobindo says you have to protect it from deleterious influences. Many times we get some vision. Sometimes we get a dream. Or sometimes we get some adhyatmic anubhav, which is what we can say something very special and close to us. And then we go and tell it somewhere. And then while speaking only, you feel a bad taste in your tongue. You feel, Arey yaar, what am I doing? And suddenly you feel that anubhav is no more giving you that ananda or that joy. Has anybody felt like that? Yes, anyone? Anybody? If yes, if you can just share, because we're looking at a practical aspect of each of these words of Sri Aurobindo, because they are for sadhana and for yoga. Yes. Okay, Dr. Bhavana ji is saying something. Yes, please.
Actually, when some spiritual experience I had, I could not contain it. I felt like telling this person, that person, that person, and then it it was like I am waiting to get it out of it, kind of. It was so.
You
It
feel
happened that
excited. You
I
wanted to share.
lost what I gained. Kind. I shared a
Are.
lot. Yeah.
हाँ,
So some 3-4 days that happiness was there, but it was so much that I could not contain. So I had to
and
keep
then
on
you,
telling. Yeah, I had to keep
हाँ,
on telling. But it has
but
gone to the right place. Then after that, it
okay,
was settled. Kind of.
अच्छा. Absolutely. Because it is something we have to protect it, as Anubhavs also, because there are forces which are deleterious in nature. They reduce the, like, for example, a very nice marmik tarka vad was going on between me and my very close friends. We had resolved to go deeper into something. But, like Krishna says, na, idam te na tapaskaya, na shraddhaya, when somebody who does not have shraddha, who has not done sacrifice, somebody who has never, done anything towards the spiritual path, you try to go and tell that person about your spiritual experience, what's going to happen? It's going to go waste. It's going to go waste. Your punyaya also sometimes gets spent, as Dr. Bhavna ji is saying. She felt she lost the experience. I remember for me one very special experience. So I thought it was a friend, so I was like, "Chalo, theek hai." We explained to our friend, and the friend was slightly shifting towards the Nastic direction, but still friends are friends. We were having, I thought, let us have a good intellectual discussion. But problem with it's all mental only, no? So when you Anubhav is something which is a little higher than the mental. So they said there are no miracles. Like the discussion was about miracles. I said, I have experienced some. I have experienced. So let me explain. So I gave a beautiful explanation, pouring my heart into that explanation. At the end of it, I just got a response. What is it? What is in it for me? And I felt so bad. What did I do? I said, where have you talked about this? What is the reason? That is why it is said to Guru, you can share the experience to somebody who is your, what we can say, Guru Bandhu, Guru Bhagini, who are there, but always first to the Guru only. Don't otherwise share elsewhere because sometimes your experience, the joy, means for a while, I also, when that answer came, I was like, what? Was it a miracle or was it not a miracle? Then I had that question came into my head and I said, what am I thinking? It was an unique experience. And then after a while, I did reconnect to it. But it was lucky I could reconnect to it. Otherwise, it's lost. No? So something like that, Sri Aurobindo was told, no, you shouldn't go. If you have got a darshan, after darshan, go to your home. Best going to your home because let it settle into your consciousness. Because initially it's not settled. Let us go on. One experience about Rhythm of Krishna book only. I had gone to the ashram, I had kept it inside the mother's room, and it was something very beautiful. Then I got a wonderful signature on it from somebody very senior. And I was going to come meet Damleji directly. But one elderly some person I met, that person smiled at me and said, yes, I went to show this is the book. And you know what that person did? That person just touched the book's cover. As the person touched the book's cover, the sign on it got smudged completely. It became black. I was like, my God, what a horrible indication and bad omen is it? I went to Damleji, then he signed on top of it, and I felt again happy. But you see what has happened here? There was no reason for me to take a book which was placed inside a very charged place. I had to take it and I had to just come back to meet my guru. But what happened? Unnecessarily, it was out of courtesy, out of politeness. God knows what was required. It was not required at all. So I regret what I did that time. But that was again, I should have just quietly contained. So that was a mistake. That's what Sri Aurobindo is asking Nirodbaran not to do. He goes on. He says, there are some people who are very free with their palate and yet are not the worse for it. So some people are eating, following their tastes and everything and still not having any bad effects in their yoga is what Nirodbaran is complaining. Sri Aurobindo. How do you know that they are not any worse in the yogic sense? Nirodban. And again, anybody can stop me anytime. You can please tell me to stop if something is not clear. Yeah. Nirodban, this is what you mean, I suppose, by the term complete attitude of the sadhak. Giving up all these things. If not, I would request you to elaborate a bit. Elaborate a little. Sri Aurobindo. All these are external things that have their use. But what I mean is something more inward. I mean, not to be interested in outward things for their own sake, following after them with desire, but at all times to be intent on one's soul, living centrally in the inner being and its progress, taking outward things and actions only as a mean for the inner progress. This is the complete attitude of the sadhak. Attitude is everything in sadhana. You have the right attitude, less will appear more, you'll have gratitude that time, so you will feel good. Difficult moments will appear difficult only on the surface. All the hurdles that come, no matter how annoying they are, from the inside, you will be able to, you will means when you face a difficult situation, do you have an option? No, you don't have an option. You feel little irritated. Why has this come in life? What about when is it going to go? But yes, Manisha ji, you're saying something.
So the meaning of not the worse for it, not the worse for it would mean they don't suffer. Uh, not the worse for it.
But yeah, but that's in the previous one, isn't it? That's the not the current one which we are reading right now.
Yes, the
Okay, you
current
had a
one that you just read. There are some people who are very free with their palate and yet not the worse for it.
that yeah, we Sharvindo answered it, no, immediately. In
Uh,
that
What is
she
the what is the meaning of not the worse for it?
means some people are enjoying their palate and still it's not having any negative effect on sadhana. That is a perception. Grass is greener on the other side, no? They say that is what Nirodbaran is thinking. It's like I only have to suffer. I am doing sadhana, that person is not, but still he is going ahead. That's where Sharvindo is asking, how do you know in the yogic sense they are not worse? Can you guarantee? Anyway, so but the next part, we came into the next question also. Actually, the next question was going on. So let's get back to it. Maybe when before I start, you can look at it again. Means if the last question again, we break the flow then. So yeah, what is the complete attitude of the sadhak that Nirodbaran has asked Sri Aurobindo to elaborate? And he says it is about something inward. It's about the inner state, not to be interested in outer things for their own sake, following after them with desire, but at all times to be intent on one's soul, recognizing the inner calling. Is this going to take me ahead on the spiritual path? Because once you start walking on the spiritual path, there is no turning back. You have one direction, you have one aim, you have one aspiration, and that is to recognize the divine, understand the divine, become the instrument of the divine. So here there is something Sri Aurobindo is talking about. He says, all times intent on one's soul, living centrally in the inner being and in its progress. Can someone tell me what does this mean? Living centrally in the inner being and its progress. All times intent on one's soul. What Sri Aurobindo's words are. Somebody who is at all times intent on one's soul, living centrally in the inner being and its progress. Even taking the outward things and action as a means for their inner progress. What does this attitude imply? Anybody?
Being completely aware about oneself and the
Yes.
surroundings. 360
And
degree complete awareness.
means how do we deal with the outer surroundings? Means what is the compass?
That is, if one is settled within,
Yeah.
the feeling of settledness is there while watching or while being in the surrounding also. You don't
Yes.
get disturbed.
But do you
That
ignore the surroundings?
no, no, not at all.
You are
The
more conscious.
yes, I'm more conscious, and I'm more conscious of the impact that doesn't impact me because I am settled within, and I can. My perception is very much different.
But
I'm
no
very
impact.
generous.
Yeah,
I'm very
just one
generous.
moment. Yes, one moment. No impact in the sense would become insulation only. Impact in the sense we want to take the positive impact of things, only remove the negative impact because we want to progress further. No, so using outward things. Last line of Sherwin says, using outward things as an action for the means of progress. Meaning, one is not getting impacted by an unfavorable situation is something. But
Right,
even better would be if we can use that unfavorable situation as a means for furthering our sadhana.
right. For our own
That
progress.
yes, because sometimes in that detachment there's a trupti of some sort, but in that trupti the progress is not there so much. Means I'll
Mhm.
ignore what is not right. But no, maybe Sri Aurobindo is keeping Duryodhana in front of you only. I mean, Sri Krishna is keeping Duryodhana in front of you to
Mhm.
check Sthiti and to also teach you to do your karma also, isn't it?
Right.
So that is one thing. Yes, but I think otherwise it was rightly said. So yes, living centrally as what Renuji was talking about. Centrally in the sense on the inside. What are we on the inside? We are divine. Are we conscious that we are divine? That's the important question. Yes, we should be conscious. How can we be conscious? Meditate, do dhyana. Also, stop giving weightage to the outer evaluations of all the people in the world who try to indicate that we are undivine. Who are they? Who is anybody to indicate the absence of divinity anywhere? There is nobody. Swatma Ramoham Swena Swasmin Swayam Brahma Sway Mahimni Swanubhutam. Anubhuti will come naturally when you become conscious. So everything is for progressing your sadhana. Every situation you are going to. So it's not going to be a waste of time because our life is very precious and very short, unfortunately. We don't know how long we have on earth. So if we have such a short life, already we have so many hurdles in life. Janmam, there is always followed by Jara, Vyadhi, and Mrityu. These are three difficult hurdles. Only Chiranjeevis have been able to break it. So we are also very much bound by these hurdles. So in using every moment, not a moment is wasted. Every moment becomes an opportunity for sadhana. Every moment, including the unfavorable moment, is an opportunity for moving ahead. Let's continue. Nirodbaran, he says, the question of food is to some extent within one's control. But what to do with the habitual movement of the mind? Good question, actually. Sri Aurobindo says, detach yourself from it. Make your mind external to you, something that you can observe as you observe things occurring in the street. So long as you don't do that, it is difficult to be the mind's master. How important it is. This is a secret Sri Aurobindo is given in a very easy and simple manner. This is why we should hear the words of the great ones. No, we should study them. Why this is Swadhyaya. How to master the mind? The master who has already talked and reached the supramental consciousness. He is telling simplest way. He says, observe as you observe things occurring in the street. My question is, do we even observe the things occurring in the street? Or we are too busy to observe that also? Generally in a street, what's going on? If we are in the rush of life and not observing, let's at least start, observe, become conscious. But it is third person, isn't it? Somebody is going in front, you are not going. So you are able to watch from a third person's perspective. Same way, watching your own mind as a third person's perspective. Meaning, who is the third person here? Is it possible to watch in a third person's perspective? Because mind only is, I am first person. I see everything from there. How do I see my mind from the third person's perspective? Anyone? So Sri is told this is a secret. Secret of what? Mastery of the mind. Who is the master of the mind? He is the master of senses also, he or she, and is the wisest person also. Hanuman was considered got all the siddhis through mastery of mind after he lost everything. He regained it by that only. Jitendriyam buddhimatam varishtam. So now question is third person. How can we look at the mind, our own mind as a third person? Anybody?
It's
Yes,
my
ma'am?
experience
Okay.
that when I meditate, when I am conscious, very much conscious, settled within, I can see the thoughts, I can feel the thoughts in my mind. So
Okay.
I can read my mind.
Okay.
What are the
So,
things going on? Negative, positive.
okay, negative and positive. So
Yes.
what about so negative, are they yours then? Those thoughts which are there, negative thoughts.
Yes, they are mine. Because they are things.
If
There
they
are
are
things.
yours,
Yes.
if they are yours,
Uh-huh.
then you'll feel bad about them, no?
Yes, that's why people don't like to meditate,
No, but
because when people meditate, they come in terms with their self. There are certain instances or incidents which get lodged in the subconscious mind, which
okay,
of which we are not aware of. But
okay,
when we are mindful about it, when we meditate, these things come in the form of thoughts. And now we become very much fearful. Oh, are these my thoughts? Am I like this? Because
hmm,
I don't feel that I am like this. I
okay,
have some impression about myself that I'm a great person.
hmm,
But when I meditate and I suddenly feel that, oh, these things are like this, these are my thoughts.
okay.
So,
So
so coming back to your question, yes, negative thoughts are also mine.
no, no, no. Actually, Renuji, that is the danger. No, when we think negative thoughts are ours, we attach to them. We have to recognize that these are also not mine. Because
Yes,
sometimes people
yes,
sit into the dhyana, no,
yes,
they get and they feel very ashamed. And say, "Arey, I
yes,
got thought when I was doing meditation." What?
yes,
And then that's because of that shame and guilt, you're adding more.
yes, Bhaiya. That is why
Yeah,
we are not mindful. We just sit as a witness. We don't,
yeah,
if we try to focus on those thoughts, we give power to those thoughts.
yeah.
So
So
let those thoughts come and pass by as the
that
clouds. We
is
have to
third
be as a
person.
witness. If
Yes,
we
as a
don't,
witness,
yes,
without
as a
attaching to them.
yes, we don't
Right.
attach ourselves to those thoughts. So this
Ji.
comes gradually after
Okay.
we meditate
Yeah.
for some time. But
All
for
right. Ji.
people who meditate, starts meditating for the first time, for the first day, and if they come across, they it is a general fact, they start getting attached to those thoughts, and they simply
Yeah.
drop off from the meditation process. Also, they get up.
Ji, ji.
So
Yes,
we are
ji. All
just,
right.
I think we are
Okay.
going astray. Okay.
No problem, ji. No, that's fine. That's fine. All right. And Dr. Bana wants to add something, is it?
Hi, just a small thing what Renuji said just now, that that my habit of meditating at 4 a.m. Everything is matching. My mind is very calm, very with my meditate. I am in a meditative mood and no thoughts are coming. But as it becomes 5:30 and all, as if all world thoughts are rushing inside. There is a nice noise that starts. So this very regularly observed that world gets up and something enters in your mind. That is experience.
Okay, ji. Yes. Yes, Dr. Bana ji. So now what we would like to see is looking at like a street. What's going to happen when you are watching in the street? Somebody is coming. A wonderful vehicle is gone, or Khatara vehicle is going. Both vehicles are not yours, isn't it? So watching like in the street is recognizing these thoughts. That means you will not take even the credit for the good thoughts of yours. And you will not take the blame for the bad thoughts also, because otherwise we get trapped in that dvandva. So I want to think there are some people who try to positively reinforce, I am like this, I am like that. So then they live in their mental logic that I am this, I am this. Suddenly they feel something else. Instead, turn it away. Turn yourself one step back. Look at them. Krishna Sri Aurobindo says that. Observe like you do in a street. Unless you do that, unless you observe from the third person's view, you will not be able to master the mind. You will be trapped in the doldrums of the mind only. Mental logic sometimes is where it's a maya of its own only. The manaha. It will not allow you to rise beyond the mental consciousness. So just like if you are, yeah, I'll come to you, Dr. Vaishla, in one moment. Yes. So just for like say if a wrong thought does come, you get angry when you're talking about Shanti and Shiva and you're talking about the beautiful silence of Shiva, and suddenly on the inside sometimes heavy metal music is playing or some other raw sounds or something, some thoughts which are very disturbing, they come into you. Instead of recognize, this is like how what happens in a transistor, no, or when we or or in a radio, we we get a channel, no, one wrong frequency tune and you get wrong thoughts, something like that. This is coming from another place. I am not this, Neti, not this, not this. Let me move out of it. I am not this. Stop attaching to it. Yes, Dr. Vaishal, you were saying something.
Uh, Even if thought comes up, we should be detached, and emotion should not be attached to it, whether it is anger,
Yeah.
happiness, or whatever. So
Yeah, that
detach
is
from the
why,
emotion.
yeah. That is why focusing on the Kriya. Krishna also in the Gita, no, talks about specifically on focusing on the Kriya. He has given Nasikagra Dhyana, or he says prana, pana, samakrutva, focus on the brewer madhye, focus at that point. Because as you get into the kriya, slowly the mental disturbances will silence. So let us continue. But this is a very strong word by Sri Aurobindo that unless you get into this habit, unless you detach yourself, meaning if you get a poetry inspiration also, don't get attached to the poetic inspiration that I am writing it, I am writing this poetry, I'm emotionally attached to it. It's like initial stages that becomes the fuel for somebody's poetry. When you see something nice, you get inspired, you feel good emotions, you write down, you pen your emotions. But still, these are all on the emotional level and mental level, or what Sri Aurobindo calls vital level. When will you rise higher than that? For that, you'll have to say, I'm going one step back. And then you can see. Let's continue. Krishna, Sri Aurobindo, Nirodbaran says, people say that one shouldn't read when one is at work. I have already told you that I read. Sri Aurobindo, usually reading when one is when at work is not desirable. I don't remember just now what your work is. So reading while working, why is it not desirable? Because karma is karma, isn't it? Your focus from the karma will get lost because of your. Sometimes people, I want to get adhyatmic knowledge, so let me start reading. Adhyatmic knowledge does not come only by reading. It comes by karma also. Many times your works which you think are not important to you or are superficial or of no use to your sadhana, they only become very important for your sadhana to go ahead when you're conscious. So reading has to be done, yes, but reading has to be done at the time of reading. There's a place for reading, there's a time for reading, not while you're doing work and neglecting your duty, because neglecting duties cannot allow you to move ahead in sadhana as well. Sri Aurobindo. Sorry, Nirodbaran. When I have given up all reading and taken up work seriously, just then, an accident. Uh, People say it is a good sign. I attribute it to my carelessness. Now, there's a footnote to it about the accident. While I was working, Nirodban has written, while I was working in the timber go down, a heavy wooden beam fell on my big toe, causing a black contusion. So look at this, huh? To help Nirodban go beyond the mind, this doctor has to work in a timber go down. He's become a carpenter from a doctor. But there an accident took place, so he's referring to that. He says, and people say it's a good sign. Sri Aurobindo, how? It should rather be a warning to be careful than a good sign. Nirodhan, tomorrow being Sunday, may I take rest? Sri Aurobindo, it is better to take rest. If you feel better, when at rest. Nirodhan, I could not sleep last night. There was no pain. I could not sleep last night, though there was no pain. In the afternoon, I had a cup of tea. Do you think it was responsible? This is something very interesting. And then he goes on further. It is true that a sense of nervous exhaustion sets in after taking it. I wanted to stop it after your writing, but here I am again. So he's unabashedly saying, you had told me to stop, but I'm not able to. Anybody here has a habit of tea who can relate to Nirodbaran very much? No. All right. Just when tea time, you don't get tea immediately in the head. A lot of people experience that. So let us see what Sri Aurobindo says. Certainly, you should not have taken tea in these circumstances. It is not good for the nerves. Why all of this is because he is a sadhak. He is doing sadhana. Sadhaks are sometimes more sensitive. We are understanding a young Nirodbaran. Later on, Nirodbaran becomes like really how Arjuna becomes later in the Gita. He goes out of reach, no? Something like that. Dr. Nirodbaran's consciousness also becomes too far and too high. But right now in his early journey, he's quite sensitive to sensitive in the sense even to little things. That is a phase. There's a phase of sensitivity in sadhana. Right now he is there. So certainly we should not have is what Sherman said. It is not good for the nerves. Nirodban, again, all trouble comes at night. I was a little mortified to think that you can't or won't give me some help. After all, I may be responsible for it. Nirodbaran, it is your nerves that are responsible. They have too little resistance, probably to pain and illness, and are too easily restless. So that's his inner nature, is Prakriti. It's very interesting, no, how Sri Aurobindo is doing his sadhana, he's doing so many things, and he has to also like babysit young Nirodbaran and slowly take him ahead on the path. And the way he does it with such patience, that is really remarkable. Any one of us probably would have lost patience, but that is why he's the master. Let's continue. They have too little resistance probably to pain and illness and are too easily restless. Relax yourself at night and don't struggle to sleep, but relax with all the mind and nerves and body quiet and let sleep come. Is another technique for getting yoga nidra, to experience it. A jagrut sleep avastha. Relax with full mind. Relax your nerves and body quietly and let the sleep directly descend into you. If anybody has trouble sleeping, you can try practicing this. Quietly go inwards. Nirodharan, looking at my wound, one would think that it is the work of some hostile force, which, while being compelled to leave me, gave the last kick in parting. Some say it is. It is. Do you think so? Sri Aurobindo. These things usually come from some adverse force. Nirodban. Many people show signs of progress after an illness. May I not expect some? Give me thy blessings, that I may be cured without any complication settling in. Sri Aurobindo. It is true that one can use an illness in that way, though to advance without illness is better. What a sweet dialogue between master and disciple. In September 1934, Nirodban, I saw what you wrote to T about reading. I wonder if it applies to me also. Sri Aurobindo, what is written for T is not meant for you. T has got into a moment of consciousness in which reading is no longer necessary and would rather interfere with his consciousness. There is no objection to your reading provided it does not interfere with your meditation. So this is one very important thing in sadhana. One size fits all is not there. Each person's marga is different, each person's prakriti is different, each person's swabhava is different. So that way each person, that was a beautiful aspect of integral yoga. It is not like one sadhana given to everybody. Each person's swabhava was understood, and so according to the swabhava, using the swabhava to transcend the limitations of one's swabhava. So for Nirodbaran, it was not required. What was given to this person was he was already got into a moment of consciousness. Now he needs to connect with that laya or that flow, and so he does not need to read. Nirodbaran is going and reading that letter given to him and says, "I also then can I also then stop?" But he has there is no objection as long as it doesn't interfere with his meditation. So right now his meditation has not yet got steady, and so for Nirodhan, the current task was to make his meditation stable and sustainable, that consciousness inside. Nirodhan, I should like to be a literary man. Do you approve? Sri Aurobindo, it depends on what kind of literary man you want to be, ordinary or yogic. Nirodhan, what do you mean by yogic literary man? I find here that sadhaks who have flourished as literary men have read a lot, N, A, D, etc. Sri Aurobindo. A literary man is one who loves literature and literary activity for its own sake. A yogic literary man is not a literary man at all, but one who writes only what the inner will and word wants to express. He is a channel and an instrument of something greater than his own literary personality. Of course, the literary man and the intellectual love reading. It is their food. But this is quite apart from writing. There are plenty of people who never wrote a word in the literary way, but were enormous readers. But one reads for ideas, for knowledge, for the stimulation of the mind by all that the world has thought or is thinking. I never read in order to create. This is very important. Sri Aurobindo's master of creation. He's also read so much Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, all so many different philosophies, so many different things he has read. But he says, I never read in order to create. And what does reading give? If you look at it, one reads for ideas, knowledge, for stimulation of mind, all that the world has thought, by all that the world has thought or is thinking. Meaning it is what we call Vishwa Manas. You can understand through reading. Because each of us think similar way, isn't it? Sometimes. Because there's something called a cosmic, well, you can say cosmic mind. The mind thinks according, sometimes two people get the same ideas. Is it conceivable? Two people in different parts of the world getting the same idea. Is it logical or conceivable? Anybody? Or it's not? Anyone? If you can have your opinion. Each one is free. Yes. Anybody?
Two people can go through the same experience and they can get similar ideas.
They can get, isn't it? Yes, yes. It has nothing to do with the individual's background or individual's literary knowledge or sometimes experience or something. Because I was very, there was one Mr. Vinod Khanna, one person, one very good, he's a good poet. And I just randomly met him. And he wrote a book called Lamppost and he shared it to me. So I was very happy. But when I opened the Lamppost, which is a collection of so many poems, it was quite a big, thicker book compared to my book. But I was so surprised to see so many titles of the poems also on the same topics. So when I shared it with him, he was also, and he was also, I think, a rhyming poet. Not able to fully remember because it's nearly 10 years ago. But he was also writing on the same topic. Though our expression is slightly different, we both had the same thought. Now, who is going to sue whom for plagiarism? Is anybody going to do that? No, because we both laughed and we were happy that probably we shared the same experience. I was happy that such an elderly person also is thinking same thing. I felt like, chalo, blessing from him. A good poet is now given a pat on the back. We felt nice about it. That is all. But this is important that just you don't read so you create, you read to understand and grow and sharpen your mind. It's going to make your mind sharp, yes. But for writing, Sri Aurobindo says he himself, he never read in order to create. As the yoga increase, about Sri Aurobindo is saying, as the yoga increase, I read very little. For when all the ideas in the world come crowding in one, there is not much need of food there. At most, and utility for keeping oneself informed of what is happening in the world, but not as a food for one's own seeing of the world and truth and things. So what is it going to do? It's like you get the newspaper or some news feed, you get some information, isn't it? So for that you can read maybe. But for creating, when you go into a state of consciousness, Anu Bhadraha, so from all directions, let the auspicious thoughts come. You become a great receiver. And when you are the receiver, you have to connect from that consciousness, not from what you have read or go back to memory or something else. That actually becomes a hurdle. At the most, you can use it for its utility value of giving you insights into certain things what are happening in the world, but not for creation. Nirodbaran, he goes on. I found that one's reading does not always help one in expressing the thoughts in the most effective way. So also with writing poetry. We have the ideas, words, thoughts, yet we can't write a poem as poets do. This is Nirodbaran's a genuine concern. Since he has the ideas, the words, the thoughts, everything is there, but he's not able to write like a poet. Sri Aurobindo, he says, Poetry, especially, even perfect expression of any kind, comes by inspiration, not by reading. Reading helps only to acquire a language or to get the technique of literary expression. So it looks like reading in the world of poetry at least appears to be like a outer garb only. It is not playing the most important role. Most important role is being played by anybody? We just saw that. What is playing the most important role, if not reading?
Vishwamanas? So you said
Okay.
something like Vishwamanas?
Inspiration. Inspiration comes from different dreams. Vishwamanas is one dream, we can say, world mind. But again, higher than that also, there are planes. So, like poetry or any perfect expression comes from inspiration, not by reading. Reading helps only to acquire a language, to get the technique of literary expression. Afterwards, one develops one's own use of the language, one's own style, one's own technique. It is a decade or two since I stopped all but most casual reading, but my power of poetical and perfect expression has increased tenfold. What I wrote with some difficulty, often great difficulty, I now write with ease. My God, Sri Aurobindo is saying he had difficulty in writing. I mean, what is that? I mean, his standard is so high. His standard is so high. What I wrote with some difficulty, often great difficulty, I now write with ease. I am supposed to be a philosopher, but I never studied philosophy. Everything I wrote came from yogic experience, knowledge, and inspiration. So too, my greater power over poetry and perfect expression was acquired in these last days, not by reading and seeing how other people wrote, but from the heightening of my consciousness and the greater inspiration that came from the heightening. This is beautiful. It's we, if we want to write, we want to get inspired, we want to express in the sense, express in any form, whether it's verbal. You want to, sometimes we have to express things to people, isn't it? Even for that, we need inspiration. And that comes from a heightened consciousness. Shamus is not by reading. Everything came from the yogic experience, from the knowledge and inspiration. There's a goddess who is responsible in our Sanatan Dharma for granting all of this knowledge, inspiration, and she's said to be closest to human beings. Who is that? If yes,
Sharada?
yes, yeah, absolutely. That is why Ma Saraswati's invocation is done first, always. Because if it is not there, I remember once Ma Saraswati's pressing was not there. I got the Shanti Mantra. I was so surprised. Yeah, so many years I'm saying, and maybe that time I did not. What has happened? So our words will leave us unless we are in that state of consciousness. Of course, that time the mind was disturbed or elsewhere. So I was not able to. So now we need to be connected. Our past, our personal experience, our personal reading, our personal command of the language, all of this matter not, nothing compared to the inspiration. And that inspiration must be used for heightening our consciousness again. It's a beautiful journey, and Sri Aurobindo talks about himself, giving his own experience. The way Sri Aurobindo writes so humbly about himself, I mean, that is really brilliant. And he says, I had difficulty writing earlier, and then with yogic sadhana, it became free. Expression improved tenfold. Even today, his words, Sri Aurobindo's words are we all know in Devanagari script, so many mantras are there. But Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, it is mantric. Every line has a consciousness deep into it. So that is why it has not come from mental reading. It has not come from some past works. There's a story of Satyavan and Savitri, but it is in this Savitri is not just only the story of Satyavan and Savitri. It is actually using the theme of Satyavan and Savitri to convey spiritual experiences from a different world, from a different dream. We are able to connect through this. Sri Aurobindo, Nirodbaran, he asks, what is it then that operates behind reading, natural talent, or painstaking labor? Sri Aurobindo says, reading and painstaking labor are very good for the literary man, but even for him, they are not the cause of his good writing, only an aid to it. The cause is within himself. As to natural, I don't know. Sometimes the talent is inborn and ready for expression, then you call it natural. Sometimes it awakes from within afterwards, but I suppose then also it is natural, though from a till then hidden nature. This is beautiful. This natural talent and all people say, well, what is unnatural talent then? That also is natural, is what Sri Aurobindo says. Sometimes people immediately have an expression early on, so they are able to express it. We call it natural talent. But after a while, sometimes some people have to do sadhana, sometimes inner experiences, sometimes they have to get some life experience, sometimes they have to get punched by Prakriti. After that punch, they get up and then suddenly the free flow happens. Then the expression takes place. But then is that unnatural? What happens after that? No, that also is natural. And Sri Aurobindo is saying it is just all one. It comes from inside. Painstaking labor and reading, that is good only for the literary person, not for the yogic expression, but expressive poet. Nirodban, I am ashamed to say that I couldn't follow your advice about tea. Hey Bhagwan, I fell a victim to the temptation. If I would really profit by giving it up, I shall do so. Sri Aurobindo, if you can give up, it is all right. If you can't, or have to force yourself too much, wait till you can. The important thing is the opening of the inner being. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, see, don't get distracted. Tea is a superficial aspect. Sadhana, getting open to the divine consciousness. You have come here not to fight a battle with to tea or not to tea, not to have tea. Or your entire purpose of sadhana is something higher. So he says, if you can give it up, it's fine. Because this is almost the 10th or 15th time that he's talked about tea and saying he's not able to give it up. So Sri Aurobindo says, it's all right if you can't or have to force yourself too much. Wait till you can. So, means there's no rigid suppression. That is something important. You have to understand it's not good. It's not good. Make yourself able, as Krishna also tells, no, to Arjuna. Then he says, no, my mind is still chanchalam he manaha Krishna. Then he says, by abhyasena, vairagyena, by abhyasa, by vairagya, something like that. Sri Aurobindo. Probably we'll look at three more such readings. Sir, Nirodbaran. Since I seem to have a possibility of opening in the direction of poetry, may I not direct my aspiration mainly towards it? Sri Aurobindo. It seems to me that the aspiration should be mainly directed to the full opening of the Adhar, to the divine force. We look at this if there's a doubt. Means poetry is used as a sadhana. So suddenly now Nirodbaran is getting an opening. So he says, should my aspiration now be fully towards poetry? Opening towards that poems. That time Sri Aurobindo says the aspiration should be mainly directed to the full opening of the Adhar, to the divine force. What is the Adhar and what is opening of the Adhar to the divine force? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, please.
Adhar is the body.
Okay,
This
or the instrument of the divine, the Sharira also. Yeah. Yes, Manisha ji. And What should be the aim then? Please unmute you.
What is the next question?
So what should be the aim then? Opening of the Aadhar to the force. What does that imply?
To be an instrument of the divine.
And to be receptive, isn't it? To receive the higher force at all times. So the purpose of sadhana is that. Poetry maybe that is the outer aspect. That is again an outer aspect. Poetry becomes a conduit for expression or for receiving the higher force. But poetry is not the destination. The destination is for opening up the Aadhar. That is what Sri Aurobindo is trying to point out. Nirodbaran had a severe headache after pranam. Why? Sri Aurobindo. Some mental resistance probably. It was a one-line question. Just had a severe headache. Why? Now doctor has to be diagnosed according to Nirodbaran. He wanted Sri Aurobindo to say that. But Nirodbaran writes, Sri Aurobindo, this first time he has written like that. Sri Aurobindo, last night I had a dream of mixed character. I saw that many of us have assembled and are expecting you to come down amongst us. A great expectancy was in the air, a great excitement, because a force was to descend. Sri Aurobindo, this is also in the vital. It's almost punctured it. Let's continue. Nirodban, you came, but we didn't know how or when. Suddenly we found that Nolini had fallen senseless on the ground and you were lying beside him, which gave us the impression that you were transmitting your force into him. Then somebody came and separated us from you by drawing a screen, saying or suggesting that this was the force that was expected to come down. After a while, some of us went to see you again and saw you passing by. To our great delight and surprise, your feet were just the color of lotus, so soft, tender, beautiful. Unfortunately, I couldn't make much of your face. So this was a dream though, not accurate perhaps? Sri Aurobindo. Dreams of this kind in the vital plane are very common. They correspond to something that has happened there, but the forms are often partly supplied by the subconscious mind and partly true. The supplied forms have then to be taken as symbolic, while the rest actually happened in that plane. Hence, falling down, etc., and the drawing of the screen seem to be of the supplied kind. The rest seems to be of a more direct character. This is actually interesting. So, this is about the analysis. Sri Aurobindo has analyzed that dream which Dr. Nirodbaran saw. Anybody has the habit of analyzing your dreams? Writing down your dreams or something? There's something called dream diary. Many people maintain. Yes,
By the
sir.
time we get up, we forget the dream.
G magic. So many times we forget the dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. If you go on
Okay.
remembering the dream, then it is very difficult.
It's difficult. But then how do you sleep, Maji? When you go to sleep, just quickly fall asleep?
I quickly fall.
Yeah.
But
So
after 3, 4, 5 hours, I get up. No, after that, I may not get deep sleep.
yeah. No, but just instead of quickly falling to sleep, if you can try to go slowly into sleep, no, then dreams also might become more, what we can say, you'll have smriti of the same. Because you'll enter into what we call yoga nidra. Slowly, if you quietly try to enter into, because sometimes we get hints, and yogis are always conscious, isn't it? So even in sleep also, why sadhana should not take place? It can take place if you are conscious. That is possible. In the Mandukya Upanishad, it is said these are all, there is a Jagrati, there is a Turya, there is a Sushupti. These are all states of consciousness. And Adi Shankaracharya talked about Nidra Samadhi Sthiti. Nidra is a state of becoming one with the divine. So maybe you can just try experiment, and if you do Remember, you can share in our Delight group. Isn't it,
Sir,
Majid?
if I sleep, no, my
Hmm.
mind will be chanting the Vishnu Sahasrama, something like that. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
Why? What is wrong in that? But you go
Nothing
slowly.
wrong, but it is not a deep sleep, no, sir.
No, no, no. Why are you saying that? It may be only you're not having the smriti because quickly you're going into it. Sometimes it becomes unconscious, no? So you have to still make it just conscious slightly. Mantra chanting is not wrong. But maybe sometime after the mantra chanting is complete, just quietude you try to, because after the chanting of mantra also there's a quietude. When you chant the mantra, if you chant it in a hurry, you lose that quietude, isn't it? Means
I
in a
do chant daily in the evening, but
yeah,
in the night, no, that goes on repeating in my mind when I sleep.
okay. Means I'll just tell you for us, my grandfather had actually told, and mother also had told me this that if you're not falling asleep, start saying Rama Raksha Stotram. You will fall asleep. You'll fall asleep very well. Why that is there is because it is actually a very big stotra. So by the time you reach a particular state, you'll fall asleep only directly. That was one thing, and then there was something about sleep. Bad dreams also will not come when you go into that state of consciousness. But after a while, as we grow, then maybe when you do it a little more consciously, it might be a little easier. So, Maji, you can chant your mantra, but maybe do it a little slower while chanting and slowly go consciously into sleep. But anyway, let's get back to Dr. Nirodbaran's dream, what Sri Aurobindo has analyzed right now. Well, so he said that dreams of this kind are in the vital plane are very common. So there is a plane we'll have to start experiencing. If we want to experience, there are different planes of consciousness. Who knows? Sometimes we get very great hints also in the dreams. People have beautiful experiences as well, not necessarily only bad experiences. So here, this is something from the vital plane. They correspond to something that has happened there. So many events, it is said, they already take place in a plane and then they manifest on the Bhuloka. That is why probabilities are told, no, by Jyotishacharyas. This can happen, that can happen, because they understand some probability, but they don't know the exact actuality. So, but something happens. For an actuality to take place, it must have happened somewhere else in another plane. That is a higher plane. That is what they talk about manifestations. So there are so many planes of manifestations, and in the vital plane, there are so many manifestations taking place. So from that, it comes and enters into the dreams. That is what Sri Aurobindo is saying. But so they correspond to some things that have happened. But there is also what we call khichadi or mixture. Mixture of what? Mixture of what subconscious, what we have seen, what our subconscious mind is throwing the image. Like I remember when Akka was there in the neighboring auto, she used to laugh, ha ha ha, like that. And she became the source of my nightmare when I was in class 2. Because from the subconscious, that image of her laughing came, and I dreamt that my auto driver took us in the wrong direction, and then we are lost. And then from there, she's laughing, and it was a nightmare. For as a child, it's a nightmare. Now it sounds very silly. But something like that, these mixtures take place, and sometimes they cover up the essence of the dream. So these are from the subconscious. So Sri Aurobindo called it supplied form. So then you take it as you have to understand that you can take away those things from the subconscious. So here, what was subconscious part which was there was the falling down of N. Nolini had fallen down in the dream, and then somebody drawing a curtain. This is from the subconscious because maybe the Shishya is feeling that I'm not being allowed to go to Shervinda too often, or somebody is preventing us, something like that. It's just a possibility of thought. We cannot exactly, unless Dr. Nirodbaran is himself here, we cannot analyze what was in his subconscious. But this is what happens in the dream. So there's a mixture from the subconscious, mixture from the vital. Sometimes there are darshanas also which we get from higher also. The vital is not only emotional and bad. Lower vital is not good, but higher vital can give you even darshanas. Sometimes beautiful experiences are also got. So we look at one more and we'll stop. After that, if somebody wants to discuss something, you are welcome, or we'll continue. I have been rather clumsy in expressing my thoughts, Nirodban says. Somehow I feel a great resistance and words simply won't come. The same resistance everywhere. Sri Aurobindo. It is a negative resistance, mostly of the physical mind and vital physical. A resistance of inertia. Inertia is what? Tamas. A resistance of inertia, of aprakash and apravritti. Aprakash means obscurity or nescience. Apravritti is the incapacity or again inertia. So a resistance of inertia, of aprakash, apravritti against any idea of any possibility of being other than they are. It often comes when the keenness of the vital resistance is no longer there. So this resistance that he's having, that is what Sri Aurobindo is talking about. A resistance against any idea or any other, against our, sometimes our mind has a mold, isn't it? I think certain things. For me, I like Krishna in his Chaturbhuja Rupa. So I will recognize Krishna when he comes only in the Chaturbhuja Rupa. If he comes in another Rupa, which I don't like, the slightly shorter version, slightly paler version, or slightly different, I will not, because of what? It's a resistance, isn't it, in my mind? I'm too attached to this, so I'm not open. I'm not open to something higher. So something like that, this resistance is there, is what Nirodbaran says. I think we can stop here. Yes, please. We stop here. We stop on the 11th of October, 1934. We are slowly moving into the Adhyaya, but one thing we are seeing is movement of Nirodbaran is taking place. Yes. Yes, anybody, would you like to summarize something, or if you have any doubts, anything you wish to relook at, we could look at the same, or we are ready to conclude our session today with the Shanti Mantra after the summary. Yes, please. Anybody?
Today I'm attending for the first time, sir.
Ji, ma'am.
The questions are between whom and Aurobindo and?
Okay. Dr. Nirodbaran.
Sorry,
Dr.
don't.
No problem. No problem. No, why, sorry? That's fine. And always welcome, Maji. So, yeah, this is between one sadhak, one Dr. Nirodbaran. He is known as Nirodda in Pondicherry. He was known as, he is no more, of course, but he had come at a very young age to the ashram in his early 20s, just in the very early 20s. He was a doctor, but got inspired with his spiritual calling. So he decided to devote his life. At that time, after finishing completing his doctorate in the UK, he came to Pondicherry and started working in the Sri Aurobindo ashram and serving there. So there he would get the chance of correspondence with Sri Aurobindo. Everybody knew Sri Aurobindo as somebody who is very stern and very strict. They would call him non-smiling saint. But in this correspondence, the world came to know the other side of Sri Aurobindo, and it was very special. Dr. Nirodbaran considers himself quite lucky that he got this side and he was able to correspond, because afterwards he would take care of patients also. Even for treatment of patients, he would consult. He would consult Sri Aurobindo, he's a doctor himself. Yet on the type of upchar that needs to be done, because then there were some occult forces, there were spiritual forces at play also. So all of that he would get some guidance. So this is the book of correspondence of Nirodbaran with Sri Aurobindo. Later on he becomes a very big sadhak. Now he is complaining about little things because he's a young man. As he grows afterwards, his poetry becomes out of the world afterwards. See. And poetry is used as a sadhana. Many times in this, what we can say, the integral yoga, no? It is suddenly the opposite things are brought in to remove the barriers which are internal. Like a doctor being asked to work in the carpentry section. What do you think, Maji? A doctor being asked to work in carpentry, does it make too much sense logically?
No.
No, isn't it? Then why do you think
No.
it is being done? Because the resistance was inside, no? We all become, what we call sanskaras also become trapped for us. Sanskaras are good, but sometimes sanskaras are also trap. Gita also tells, no, Krishna tells, first he tells, uphold your dharma, recognize your swadharma. Continuously he tells that, but what does he tell in the 18th adhyaya? Sarva dharman parityaje mamekam sharanam raja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Means he says you have to now give up all your dharmas also. Does that mean Arjuna has to become adharmi? No.
No.
But his attachment, no, to dharma, that has to be given up. Doctor means many times doctor will carry stethoscope everywhere, no?
Yeah.
Doctor should carry in the
We don't
hospital.
know when the
Well,
time comes.
no, not that way. I meant, see, a doctor is in the hospital, doctor is authority, isn't it? But everywhere else, that should not happen. Somewhere the person should understand this is my kshetra, this is not my kshetra. But sometimes, not all, huh? I'm not talking about all. Both my parents are doctors, so I'm not
Me
general.
also. Me
Okay.
also.
You're also a doctor, Ji? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh, I didn't know that, Maji. You are in
Yeah,
which field?
I'm
You are a
a
doctor in.
gynecologist,
Oh, I didn't know that, Maji.
but
Lovely.
I'm
Nice
not
to hear.
practicing now.
Okay, okay. Gee, my mother also, when I was in school, I was asked, "What is your mother?" I only said, she is mother." I didn't know she is doctor because for me she was that only.
Yeah, yeah.
It can make a difference. So many years. I think I know you for 3, 4 years. I didn't know that Maji is a gynecologist. Yes. So that was why he was asked to work in the carpentry section for some time. He was asked to try poetry. All of these things are for widening his consciousness. Then he comes back to his duty when he's ready, no? When he's ready, he comes back to look after the patients. But still, Sri Aurobindo had told, you are no more doctor. You have come to serve me, to Dr.Nirodbaran. And he did perfectly serve Sri Aurobindo. Yes, Ji. So
Thank you
this is,
for
thank you, Ji. Hari Om. No, I'm very happy to hear this. I didn't know that about Maji. Yes. So, can anybody summarize something and then we conclude with the Shanti? Yes, Dr. Bhavnaji wants to say something. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it was initially about tea, food, and all that. So there is no attachment to what you are eating. It should be taken as just means for growth and not for taste or liking or disliking like that. Then about the sleep also, like the dream part of it that has been quite uh, interesting. The dream part of that has been discussed, the analysis of the dream and the consciously going into the sleep and probably coming out and trying to analyze the dream can make us continue our sadhana even during our sleeping time so that some subconscious whatever is remaining which is not known to our waking mind can be cleaned or offered for the divine to purify it. So these two things were quite interesting in today's dialogue.
Yes, yes. All
Another
right.
thing is that to be settled in the settled that I am this is for my growth, that every minute
Ah,
of my life has to be centered for growth, and all
yeah.
outer things are only in the perspective of growth that you should look into it, that
Yes,
how
yes.
it is going to help or it is going to deter in my progress. So all there has to be the conscious awareness for every second that goes in life, as the life is
Correct.
short and maximum can be made out of minimum. So
Yes, yes.
that's all.
Using every moment as an opportunity for sadhana.
Yes.
As Adi Shankaracharya has also said, no? Yad yad karma karomi tadakhilam shambho
Oh,
tavaradhanam,
yes.
as a chance for aradhana.
Yes.
Sometimes apada ka avsar, they say, no? The Prime Minister has made a nice slogan. Convert
Converted into
into an
opportunity.
opportunity. Yes. An adverse situation, adversity into opportunity, transformation.
Yes.
That is sadhak is able to. Everything. Everything can be
But maybe
transformed.
the first step is like to be Sakshi. Then only you'll get to know what is there
Yeah,
inside.
that was one more thing. To become, you have to become observer. Fine, everybody I love, everybody I care, everybody I respect are now talking bad about me. It will make you emotionally broken, isn't it? And say, take one
Yes.
shot. Yes, they are talking bad about me because they have to talk. They are talking because they want to. Does that make me what I am? No. I am divine on the inside, irrespective of 100,000 people. Entire world goes against me also. That should not change my understanding of myself, isn't it?
Yes.
That is important. So for that, we have to have a firm base, firm foundation. Ekadevo Bhava or Guru Nishtha, Shraddha. That will help us.
And this we use Adharam as the
Hmm.
word here often, but it is quite deep understanding of Adhara is required. It is not
Yeah.
simply mind. It is not. It is what you are in your being. That
Adhar means
Adhar.
support, no? Adhar
Yes.
means support. So
Yes.
divine needs a vessel to work. Like that, we also need a support. We'll have to find our support. Like they say, Shraddha Sthana. That can become our Adhar. And then we become the Adhar for the divine.
Yes.
That Adhar is the vessel for the divine action.
Yes.
Because many people, no, when they become and go into that position, then their actions are able to benefit more people. Loka Sangra. Again, it is not like I need to benefit 10 people, so I am more important. I've benefited 100 people, so this person is more important. There's no calculation or comparison. But importance is this. And one more thing about poetry is the poetry must come from
Yeah.
inspiration.
That is. That
Inspiration. That
should
is
come
yogi.
from inspiration, not constructed or something
Yes, yes.
created. Not like that. You
Yes,
cannot
one
create. It
small.
comes.
Yes, yes. I just, well, if the time permits, so 5 minutes if we have, I can just try to recollect the story. I'm not able to fully recollect right now. Can I try
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yes, if everybody's, it's not too late. Yeah, so there was a story of a king. He had two sons. One was a great poet in the sense, a very literary poet. He had great command over the language. He had great expression. So everybody appreciated his wisdom because people generally recognize literary aspect equated to wisdom, isn't it? Somebody who is well versed in words is considered to be wise, but that's not the case always. But still, his poetry, everything, a lot of people appreciated his poetry. Everything was going. The other son was a little boisterous, who liked to, what we can say, this typical Kshatriya nature. He did so many things, but he was not so much getting the praise of all the people because the other son's words were, repeated by many of his courtiers and they remembered his poems and everything. And the father always felt, yeah, what? This son is not doing anything great. It's okay, it's all right. But he should be like his brother. He should learn to write poetry and all. But never, nothing of that sort ever happened. Now the king lived his good life, then he passed away. After he passed away in the Swargaloka, because he had done such great punya, he was offered a chance. Because in the Swargaloka, time flies in a different way. So after passing away, he has so many years have passed. He says, I can allow you to see what's happening. You have passed away on Bhuloka so many years ago. But I can allow you to see what's happening right now. He said, yes, I have. You have done a good work. You have done a good job. So I'll allow you to see it. And so the king says, I want to see what happened to my son. Then he said, yes, your son's words are even today. Your son's words are respected across the land. They are remembered. Even little children find inspiration in words. They are repeated. Then he said, no, no, not that son. That son I knew will do well. I want to know about the other son, the younger one. The other divine being tells him, I am talking about the younger one only. Now the king is surprised. He said, how is it possible? Throughout my life, the younger one never wrote a poem. The elder one was always writing poetry. So I thought people would remember him. How is this possible? And he says, no, 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 your elder one wrote lots of poems, they were celebrated, but after an era that those poems were forgotten. But your younger son, he motivated all the people to raise their spirit and fight when enemy was attacking. He just gathered everybody, and the speech that he gave was so poetic. The words were so full of inspiration that even today those words are breathing fire into the hearts of people. And so so that's a difference between what we call literary and inspiration. So this person did not practice or prepare or write poetry just for the sake of writing, but it happened through him, no, through a moment. So something like that, we have to also probably see the connect. I'm not able to remember the exact source from where I read this. This was long time back, more than, I would say, even more than 18 years ago. So I'm not remembering exactly, but this was the meaning behind it, the crux of it.
Yes.
So I think, all right. Yes, Dr. Bhana wants to add something, is it?
No.
Okay, fine.
That poetry doesn't come so easily to anybody.
Right, it's all right. It will come when we connect with the divine. He says, no, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. He'll give inspiration, he'll give direction, he'll give strength. We just have to connect with him. All right, so Mukam Karoti Vachalam, it is said. So let the divine work. All right, Hari Om. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramayaha. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Jai Shri Krishna. Om Shri Mira Aravindaya Namaha. Punarmilamaha. See you next week.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari
Namaste. Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om ji. Namaste.
Hari Om Shri ji.
Hari Om ji. Hari Om. Namaskar. If any queries are there, if not, I close the session. All right. Shubhratri, Juhi ji, Chitra ji, Dr. Vaishali ji, and Dr. Sarojini ji. So henceforth, I will address Dr. Sarojini ji.
No.
I didn't know that also. Yes. Yes, ji. Thank you, ji. Reminding me of my mother only. Hari Om.